Welcome back to Talk Real Estate, the 13th episode. And today we're going to be talking to Jeremiah about listening or learning about real estate and filling out a listing contract. And the question is how many acres does he have? He told me he had a deed for 100 acres. And I said, well, do you really own 100 acres? Let's find out.
About a better world where real estate was taught everywhere. Wise people making wise decisions. Knowledge makes the deal a lot more fair. Mr. Audia, untaught real estate. There's no need to be afraid. Whether buying or selling with a little knowledge, a fair deal can be made.
Hey, Mr. Audia, we're back on TV land again.
Well, we are, and we got a couple questions about how much acres you have. You said you had a deed for 100 acres.
That's what I got. It says right on that deed, Mr. Audia. It says I own 100 acres.
Well, you know, we're filling out this West Penn multi-list agreement here, and we're going to have to put how many acres is there. So
it's 100.
Well, you know, looking at the deed here, I'm sitting saying to myself, okay, it does say 100 acres, but you got this from was it your uncle or your grandfather? Or your father?
My great uncle.
Your great uncle.
Great uncle.
He gave you that.
Great Uncle Harry gave me this property, okay. Mr. Audia.
Yeah, and it came through the will, and that will says you owned 100 acres. But the question is you got some neighbors right next to you, and I think there's some kids of your great uncle, and they look like they're your neighbors. And when I was doing the title work, I started finding out that, you know, there was 20 acres sold out of this 100 acres.
20 acres, Mr. Audia?
Yes.
Well, that only takes me down to 80 acres.
Yeah, that's true. But on the other side of you, you know, there was some other relatives, you know, that the one
Mr. Audia, you need to quit looking.
That's what I should do. But what I'm looking at is the title, and I'm looking at the title. And title is really a history of what happened to that property, you know, from your great uncle to you, and on the other side.
What's a title?
Well,
what's the difference between the title and a deed? When you get a new title like that, shouldn't you get a new deed?
Well, the person on the left got a new deed, 20 acres, and the person on the right, he got 20 acres too. So that
takes me down to, see, I got to do some ciphering, miss. This is where my 8th grade education's going to come in handy, Mr. Audia. Now, 100 minus 20 is 40, 60.
Well, there's a little...
Mr. Audia, there's 60 acres I got.
But you know that
driveway...
You're
cutting into my profit.
That driveway goes past your house, it goes behind your property. That property, that had another 20 acres that was one of the relatives of your uncle's too.
Mr. Audia!
Yeah, I'm sorry to say that means that you have...
Another 20, 40?
You got 40
I only got 40 acres, Mr. Audia. How am I going to afford a new house?
Well, you had 40 acres until the state came through, and then they took about an acre of ground to widen the road, so you got about 39 acres right now.
39 acres,
but
Mr.
Your
Audia.
deed does say 100 acres, but after you look at the deeds, you got to look and go back in history to see what happened into the history of this property.
Well, shouldn't somebody have been keeping track of that down at the courthouse, Mr. Audia?
That's exactly right. They start with a title. When we do title work, we start with the deed. We go back and we find out, you know, what happened to this property. You can do it by name.
So that's why you need a title and a deed.
You need the title, and then when you sell it to the next person, all those properties are going to come out. You're going to start with 39 acres. Now, were you planning on selling all 39 acres?
Yeah, Mr. Audia.
Okay, well then that deed.
I gotta get out of here on the count of that rooster's still driving me crazy, Mr. Audia.
Well, I can understand.
That's why I want to move.
Want to move. That's this gentleman right here. Jeremiah Wanamove, and he's been educating you on real estate for about 9 years. And if you haven't listened to our radio show, you're going to be listening to our TV Land show on YouTube. So even though you have a deed that says 100, you have to get some title work to find out what you really own.
So get that title before you make a deal.
Yeah.
You could save yourself a lot of hassle, couldn't you, Mr.
Well, I'm
Audia?
thinking what you told Mrs. Wanamove, what kind of money you were going to make on this place compared to 100 acres. You got only 39. You might have some splaining to do.
Instead of building a mansion, I'm going to be building a Cracker Jack box,
Maybe
Mr.
a
Audia.
chicken coop.
Well, Mr. Audia, that was definitely educational.
Well, I'm glad that we had this time with you today. We wish you a good day, and until next time, it's Daryl Audia and
Jeremiah Wanamove
saying,
so long.
God bless.
See you next week.
Mr.